Hi everyone. So today we are going to talk about our next topic of digestive system, which is movements of the gastrointestinal tract or movements of the gut. So if we are talking about the movements of the gastrointestinal tract, it includes the movements in buccal cavity and stomach and large intestine, small intestine, everything. And why it is important? Because if we know about the particular movement, then we can understand the digestion and absorption process. So that is why it is important. So let's start. So first movement we are going to talk about is mastication. In our further chapter also, for the topic also, we have talked about this process. But we are going to talk about this in detail. So, what is mastication? So, mastication or chewing is the first mechanical process in the GI tract by which the food substances are torn or cut into small particles and crushed or ground into a soft bolus. Significances of the mastication: breakdown of foodstuffs into smaller particles, mixing of saliva with food substances thoroughly, lubrication and moistening of dry food by saliva so that the bolus can be easily swallowed, and appreciation of taste of the food. Muscles and the movements of mastication. So, which muscles are involved in the mastication process or movement? Then masseter muscle, temporal muscle, pterygoid muscles, and buccinator muscles. These four muscles are involved in this process. And movements of mastication: opening and closure of mouth, rotational movements of jaw, protraction and retraction of jaw. So these three kind of movements are involved in the process of mastication. So we'll talk about that. First we'll see the control of mastication. So action of mastication is mostly a reflex process. It is carried out voluntarily also. The center for mastication is situated in medulla and cerebral cortex. Muscles of mastication are supplied by the mandibular division of fifth cranial nerve, which is the trigeminal nerve. The next process is the deglutition, or we can say the swallowing process. Definition: deglutition or swallowing is the process by which food moves from mouth into stomach. Stages of deglutition. Deglutition occurs in three stages. First is a oral stage, when food moves from mouth to pharynx. Second is a pharyngeal stage, when food moves from pharynx to esophagus. And third is the esophageal stage, when food moves from esophagus to stomach. Oral stage or first stage. Oral stage of deglutition is a voluntary stage. In this stage, the bolus from mouth passes into pharynx by the means of series of actions. Which actions? These are the sequence of events during the oral stage. First, the bolus is placed over the posterior dorsal surface of the tongue, and it is called the preparatory position. The second thing happens is anterior part of the tongue is retracted and depressed. Then posterior part of the tongue is elevated and retracted against the hard palate. This pushes the bolus backwards into the pharynx. Then forceful contraction of the tongue against the palate produces a positive pressure in the posterior part of the oral cavity. This also pushes the food into pharynx. Pharyngeal stage or second stage. Pharyngeal stage is an involuntary stage. In this stage, the bolus is pushed from pharynx into the esophagus. Pharynx is a common passage for food and air. It divides into larynx and esophagus. Larynx lies anteriorly and continues as a respiratory passage. Esophagus lies behind the larynx and continues as a GI tract, since pharynx continues with mouth, nose, larynx, and esophagus. During this stage of deglutition, bolus from the pharynx can enter into four paths: back into the mouth, upward into the nasopharynx, forward into the larynx, and downward into the esophagus. However, due to the various coordinated movements, bolus is made to enter only the esophagus. Entrance of bolus to other parts is prevented as follows. First is back into the mouth. A return of bolus back into the mouth is prevented by the position of tongue against the soft palate and high intraoral pressure developed by the movement of tongue. Second is upward into nasopharynx. Movement of bolus into the nasopharynx from pharynx is prevented by the elevation of soft palate along with its extension called the uvula. Forward into larynx. Movement of bolus into the larynx is prevented by the following actions. First is the approximation of the vocal cords, forward and upward movement of the larynx, and backward movement of the epiglottis to seal the opening of the larynx or glottis. All the movements arrest respiration for a few seconds and it is called the deglutition apnea. While learning about the respiratory system, we know the meaning of apnea. So, and we have heard this term also, deglutition apnea. So, what is that? Apnea refers to temporary arrest of breathing, as we all know that. And deglutition apnea or swallowing apnea is the arrest of breathing during the pharyngeal stage of the deglutition. Then there is an entrance of bolus into the esophagus. As the other three parts are closed, the bolus has to pass only through the esophagus. This occurs by the combined effects of various factors. First is upward movement of the larynx, stretches the panning of the esophagus. Simultaneously, upper 3 or 4 centimeter of esophagus relaxes. This part of esophagus is formed by the cricopharyngeal muscle and it is called the upper esophageal sphincter or pharyngoesophageal sphincter. At the same time, peristaltic contractions start in the pharynx due to the contraction of the pharyngeal muscles, and elevation of the larynx also lifts the glottis away from the food passage. All the factors mentioned about act together so that the bolus moves easily into the esophagus. The whole process takes place within 1 to 2 seconds and this process is purely involuntary. Then there is the esophageal stage or third stage. Esophageal stage is also an involuntary stage. In this stage, food from esophagus enters the stomach. Esophagus forms a passage for movement of bolus from pharynx to the stomach, and movements of the esophagus are specifically organized for this function and the movements are called the peristaltic waves. Peristalsis means a wave of contraction followed by the wave of reflection of muscle fibers of GI tract which travel in aboral direction. We'll talk about the peristaltic movement afterwards in detail. By this type of movement, the content are propelled down along the GI tract. Propel matlab to go forward. When bolus reaches the esophagus, the peristaltic waves are initiated. Usually 2 types of peristaltic contraction are produced in the esophagus. First is a primary peristaltic contraction and second is a secondary peristaltic contractions. Primary peristaltic contractions, what happens in that? When bolus reaches the upper part of the esophagus, the peristalsis starts and this is known as a primary peristalsis. After origin, the peristaltic contraction passes down through the rest of the esophagus, propelling the bolus towards the stomach. Pressure developed during the primary peristaltic contraction is important to propel the bolus. Initially, the pressure becomes negative in the upper part of the esophagus and this is due to the stretching of the closed esophagus by the elevation of the larynx. But immediately, the pressure becomes positive and increases up to 10 to 15 centimeter of H2O. Then there is a secondary peristaltic contraction. If the primary peristaltic contractions are unable to propel the bolus into the stomach, the secondary peristaltic contractions appear and push the bolus into the stomach. Secondary peristaltic contractions are induced by the distension of the upper esophagus of the bolus. After origin, these contractions pass down like the primary contraction, which produces the positive pressure. Role of the lower esophageal sphincter. Distal 2 to 5 centimeter of esophagus acts like a sphincter and it is called lower esophageal sphincter. It is constricted always. When bolus enters this part of the esophagus, this sphincter relaxes so that the contents enter into the stomach. After the entry of bolus into the stomach, the sphincter constricts and closes the lower end of the esophagus. The relaxation and constriction of the sphincter occur in sequence with the arrival of the peristaltic contraction of the esophagus. Then there is a deglutition reflex. Though the beginning of the swallowing is a voluntary act, later it becomes involuntary and it is carried out by the reflex action called the deglutition reflex. It occurs during the pharyngeal and esophageal stages. Stimulus. When the bolus enters the oropharyngeal region, the receptors present in the region are stimulated. Afferent fibers. Afferent fibers from the oropharyngeal receptors pass via the glossopharyngeal nerve fibers to the deglutition center. And center, deglutition center is at the floor of the fourth ventricle in the medulla oblongata of the brain. Efferent fibers. Impulses from deglutition center travel through the glossopharyngeal and vagus nerve and reach soft palate, pharynx and esophagus. The glossopharyngeal nerve is concerned with the pharyngeal stage of swallowing. The vagus nerve is concerned with the esophageal stage. A response. The reflex causes upward movement of the soft palate to close the nasopharynx and upward movement of the larynx to close the respiratory passage so that the bolus enters the esophagus. Now the peristalsis occurs in the esophagus, pushing the bolus into stomach. Now we'll talk about the movements of stomach. Activities of smooth muscles of stomach increase during the gastric digestion, when stomach is filled with food and when the stomach is empty too. Type of movements in stomach. First is a hunger contraction. Second is a receptive relaxation, and third is a peristalsis. First we'll see the hunger contractions. Hunger contractions are the moment of empty stomach. These contractions are related to the sensation of hunger. Hunger contractions are the peristaltic waves superimposed over the contraction of the gastric smooth muscle as a whole. This type of peristaltic waves is different from the digestive peristaltic contraction, and the digestive peristaltic contraction usually occur in the body and pyloric part of the stomach. But peristaltic movements of empty stomach involve the entire stomach. Hunger contractions are of three types. Type 1 hunger contractions. Type 1 hunger contractions are the first contractions to appear in the empty stomach when the tone of the gastric muscle is low. Each contraction lasts for 20 seconds. The interval between contraction is about 3 to 4 seconds. Tone of the muscle does not increase between the contraction. Pressure produced by this contraction is about 5 cm of H2O. Then there is a type 2 hunger contractions. Type 2 hunger contractions appear when the tone of stomach is stronger. Tone increases in stomach if food intake is postponed, even after the appearance of the type 1 of contractions. Each of the type 2 contractions lasts for 20 seconds like type 1 contractions, but the pause between the contraction is decreased. Pressure produced by this contraction is 10 to 15 cm of H2O. Then there is a type 3 hunger contractions. Type 3 hunger contractions are like incomplete tetanus. These contractions appear when the hunger becomes severe and the tone increases to a great extent. Type 3 hunger contractions are rare in men human, as the food is taken usually before the appearance of these contractions. These contractions last for 1 to 5 minutes and the pressure produced by these contractions increases to 10 to 20 cm of H2O. When the stomach is empty, the type 1 contractions occur first, followed by type 2 contractions. If food intake is still postponed, then type 3 contractions appear, and as soon as food is consumed, hunger contractions disappear. Then there is a receptive relaxation. Receptive relaxation is a relaxation of the upper portion of the stomach when bolus enters the stomach from the esophagus. It involves the fundus and upper part of the body of stomach. Its significance is to accommodate the food easily without much increase in pressure inside the stomach. This process is called the accommodation of stomach. Then there is a peristalsis. When food enters the stomach, the peristaltic contraction or peristaltic wave appears with the frequency of 3 per minute. It starts from the lower part of the body of the stomach, passes through the pylorus till the pyloric sphincter. Initially, the contraction appears as a slight indentation on the greater and lesser curvatures and travels towards the pylorus. The contraction becomes deeper while traveling, and finally it ends with the constriction of pyloric sphincter. Some of the waves disappear before reaching the sphincter. Each peristaltic wave takes about 1 minute to travel from the point of origin to the point of ending. This type of peristaltic contraction is called the digestive peristalsis because it is responsible for the grinding of the food particles and mixing them with gastric juice for digestive activities. Feeling and emptying of the stomach. First, we'll see the feeling of the stomach. While taking food, it arranges itself in the stomach in different layers. The first eaten food is placed against the greater curvature in the fundus and body of the stomach. The successive layers of the food particles lie nearer the lesser curvature until the last portion of the food eaten lies near the upper end of the lesser curvature, adjacent to cardiac sphincter. The liquid remains near the lesser curvature and flows towards the pyloric end of the stomach along a V-shaped groove. This groove is formed by the smooth muscle and it is called the Magenstrace. But if a large quantity of fluid is taken, it flows around the entire food mass and is distributed over the anterior part of stomach between the wall of the stomach and food mass. Emptying of stomach. Gastric emptying is the process by which the chyme from stomach is emptied into the intestine. Food that is swallowed enters the stomach and remains there for about 3 hours. During this period, digestion takes place. Partly digested food in stomach becomes the chyme. Now we'll see what is chyme. Chyme is the semi-solid mass of partially digested food that is formed in the stomach. It is acidic in nature. Acid chyme is emptied from stomach into the intestine slowly with the help of peristaltic contraction. It takes about 3 to 4 hours of emptying of the chyme. This slow emptying is necessary to facilitate the final digestion and maximum absorption of the digested food materials from small intestine. Gastric emptying occurs due to the peristaltic waves in the body and pyloric part of the stomach and simultaneously relaxation of pyloric sphincter. Gastric emptying is influenced by various factors of the gastric content and food. Factors affecting gastric emptying. First is the volume of gastric content. For any type of meal, gastric emptying is directly proportional to the volume. If the content of stomach is more, a large amount is emptied into the intestine rapidly. Second is the consistency of the gastric content. Emptying of the stomach depends upon the consistency of the contents. Liquid particularly the inner liquids like water leave the stomach rapidly. Solids leave the stomach only after being converted into fluid or semi-solid. Undigested solid particles are not easily emptied. Third is the chemical composition. Chemical composition of the food also plays an important role in the emptying of the stomach. Carbohydrates are emptied faster than the proteins, and proteins are emptied faster than the fats. This is how the fats are emptied very slowly. pH of the gastric content. Gastric emptying is directly proportional to the pH of the chyme. Osmolar concentration of gastric content. Gastric content, which is isotonic to blood, leaves the stomach rapidly than the hypotonic or hypertonic content. So we'll stop here and we'll start the other part in the other lecture or other video, right? We'll start with the vomiting from the next video. So this was it. Let me know if you are having any query in this topic or whatever I have told you today. So thank you.